So we've seen like a $10,000 copy. We've even seen a $12,000 copy be sold on the auction house. But now we have a seller that's anonymous and a buyer that's anonymous. But we have pretty much the first ever SSS Betty that has been sold on the auction house. Not even like near perfect stats, missing a lot of stuff. But this one sold for 350,000 starry gems, which is equivalent to $14,000 USD. Yes, that's a lot of money. And people might be like, why would you do that for Betty? Well, Betty is interesting because she's probably going to be quickly becoming one of the best support heroes, especially with her core of origin, to help support your team in Void campaign and such, and probably going to be a defining hero in PvP as well. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let's talk about this hero copy. In case you have not seen it, yes, the top of the leaderboard here, not even leaderboard, for price board, is a 350,000 starry gem copy. This is the most expensive copy to ever be sold in the game. I mean, we even have the old Lord Eric here. Look at that with the old SSS hero. Man, that's a name that we haven't seen. Artorias, Penny, all these guys and girls and everything. Jesus bought these really big copies, mainly Vulcan, Mockman, and Lord of Fear Aspen. However, the one oddity at the new tippy top of this list is the Betty, and a lot of you guys might be like, why? It's not even like perfect rolls on everything. The bonus stats, well, actually pretty good, especially like control immunity offset. There are some better ones you could potentially get, but it's still a really solid roll. Why is it going for this much? Well, I know we haven't talked a ton about Betty. We did have quite a few videos during the week that went through, but in reality, she's just a really, really good hero, and it really comes down to this right here. Let's actually take a look at it in the tree. So, when Self has more than 100 energy, trigger Scarlet Therapy, which of course is her main ability here that has a chance to CC everybody. Well, backline maybe. Dealing damage equal to 60% of the original. It's not even the damage portion that really matters, however, that is nice, and can only be triggered up to one time each round. So you can have it proc off of the passive, and then you can also get your active skill, meaning it can happen twice in a round. The one little caveat here, it says at the beginning of each battle, or when Self is in battle as a substitute, this cannot be triggered. Well, that's true. You can't just chuck on an energy artifact and have it trigger at the beginning of battle. But as you guys know, when you are in combat and you take damage, you gain 10 energy. If you take damage and it's critical damage, you gain 20 energy. Either way, you're gaining energy. And what the game sees is if you're already at 100 energy and it doesn't trigger at the beginning of the battle, because that's part of the stipulation of the ability, the second you gain energy, the game sees you now as having 100 energy. Meaning, if you can get hit by the first attack by the enemy, you're essentially going to cast this active ability, Scarlet Therapy, immediately. And again, the whole point of that is to get that blood binding twine on the enemy team as fast as possible, especially when we're talking about game modes like Void campaign, where the enemies are just almost always going to go faster than you. And if you can CC them, that is amazing. Now, what makes her really, really good is not even this part. This is good, like it's good. But what makes her really broken comes down to her noble core. This is one of the first noble cores we've had that directly buffs the capabilities of the hero. Very similar to like Starwing Jara. However, Starwing Jara requires allies to make things happen, whereas she can just, this is like a good core for like a first Transcendence hero even. Granted, she's not a good first Transcendence hero, but it would be an amazing core in this situation. And I think we're going to see design concepts like this in the future as well. This reads, when you release Scarlet Therapy or trigger Scarlet Therapy, basically saying whenever you use the ability with your active or super flows, oh my god, I say this wrong every time, oblation, either one of those, when either one of those happens, you deal damage to all enemies that have blood binding twine. Don't really care about that, that's just a small amount of damage. Reduces their energy by 10, that's kind of cool, with a 50% chance to reduce 10 additional energy. Cool. This is the part that really makes her worthwhile. Deals 150% attack damage to the rest of the enemies, with a 50% chance to blood binding twine them. So what this means right here is, if for some reason this triggers right here, and it triggers the active ability, and it hits all the targets in the back line here, and twines them, or doesn't twine them, I should say, this has a chance, a 50% chance to twine them. Now, when you actually take a look at the level 8 version, the way you get this is if for every other hero in the lineup that has a noble core, you get +1 level to all cores. So that means if you have 5 other heroes in battle that have a 3-star noble core, you get +5 levels, which is why you see this core liberation level 8. That's what happens. And the big part is the rest of the enemies have a 75% chance to get blood binding twine. This in combination with like a Rui Scepter is almost like a guarantee. And then on top of that, if you have an S tier hero copy, you can roll a bunch of really cool things on this hero copy from this tier. You can go with certain type of immunities. You can literally go for like a twine immunity, so you can't be twined by the other enemy team's one, which is kind of cool. He goes for some like really defensive oriented stuff. You can go for control immunity offset and control precision. There's a ton of things you can go for, and it's really, really solid. So what I have been seeing and what my plan is, I know when the last event came out, we actually went for the noble core here because we actually needed the healing from Scarlet Queen Halora to make our team kind of more whole. But in the future, we are going to go for her noble core because I do think it is one of the stronger ones out there. Beyond that, if you do Destiny transition this hero, it's pretty interesting because when you get 12 layers of transition power, consumes those 12 layers, deals damage to backline enemies, then there's a 36% chance to bloodbind twine them. So that's just another chance to twine the enemy. Pretty interesting abilities overall. You can reduce the armor and precision of enemies. It would have been really cool if this was like the control precision and control immunity offset or something. She has extra damage if you want, increases or reduces armor of enemies, which is interesting. This one's nice. Additionally, reduces the target's control immunity by 10% is really, really sweet, or their damage reduction. She has really cool abilities here, and then the one over here is really awesome too, because it will either reduce energy, deal damage, or increase self energy by 50, getting yourself back to another active or trigger of your passive very quickly. Now, if you go all the way down here, you get some more like control precision, and then the final transition skill just kind of juices up the damage, keeping that 36% blood binding twine. So definitely a candidate to like kind of go in on. However, it just really depends on where you are in the game. She's very much an end game hero, and definitely not a first hero to build. However, I have been contemplating starting a brand new VIP series, and I want you guys to leave a comment down below if you made it this far in the video. If you want to see us basically stop spending on the main account and just kind of like idle and do new game modes and get progression where we can, and instead build a brand new series, probably willing to dump like $1,000 a month into this account to build a Therapist of Blood Betty account to see how it actually works in the early game, especially with her core of origin. It is something I'm willing to do, but I want to know if you guys are interested in it. I'll probably post a poll later today as well, but hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Maybe you guys can understand a little bit more why that SSS hero sold for that much. She's going to be very much an important hero, and if you can keep her alive longer in battle, that just means you can tie down and like just CC the enemy team so much longer than you possibly could in the past. See you guys next time.